Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
Sunshines, how art thou? I am your creative stitching diva, the Graphghan queen, and I'm doing something new, which is the story time. Some people love it, some people like it, some people didn't answer. But let me know down below in the comments if you want me to continue doing story time. Now, I'm going to graph while I tell the story of how graphganning became my niche. So, if you watched my last story time, my last story time was basically telling you how I had breast cancer and how I was diagnosed with breast cancer. After having breast cancer, I became depressed, not realizing that I was depressed. I honestly really thought that depression was something that you would kind of sort of like, act like different, stay in the house, not really go anywhere. But the older I got, the more I realized that depression comes in so many different forms and so many different ways. And I really didn't know that I was going through a lot of depression. And then at that time too, I was sick a lot and didn't know why. And that's how I found out later on I had autoimmune disorder, which was hindering my progress as well. So with the chemo and I guess everything that I had went through at the age of 25, I started to, like, my brain just started changing. My brain started making decisions that I would never make before. The decisions that I was making were like kind of like crazy because I would never do those things that I started doing now. Like I was dating more and online, and online dating was just not my thing. I was doing kind of sort of playing with the bills. Whereas before I would just pay my rent first and whatever happens, happens. But I was always good with managing money and taking care of my son as well as my sister, because at the time I was taking care of my little sister. So a lot of those things started changing. Then I became involved into a relationship, and now that I see it, I didn't see it at the time. It was a toxic relationship, and many of my family and friends were trying to tell me, like, you are different, and I would basically tell them to, go the other way. And it became toxic to the point where I was spending more time with him and doing things with him and not focusing on my progress and the things that I had wanted to do to grow. Again, I was in my 20s. I was still in my 20s, and I had a son, and my son was at the time, I think, 9. He was at the time 9. Well, no, because when I had breast cancer, I was 25, 26. I turned 26, and my son is 21 years younger than I am because I had him when I was 21. So he was most likely 7, maybe 7, 8. Yeah, I moved away from Jersey City when he was about 8, 9 years old. And I moved with my significant other, which is my youngest son's dad. I moved with him in Perth Amboy. We had a townhouse. I made good enough money. I was working 2 jobs and I made great money working the 2 jobs. I also had at the time I was a nurse, so not only was I making great money, I had a good nest egg to fall back on. So everything was looking great. Everything was good and up and up. So I thought, but I don't want to go into all of that because this is my niche. But I was just basically explaining the past that I had just to let you know why. The whys. Now, because I was so depressed, I had to move back to Jersey City because we were homeless and had nowhere else to go. And it was just a lot on me. My mom saw that I was very depressed. My aunts, like family members, saw how depressed I was. So my mom told my aunt, get her out the house. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you have to do. Just get her out the house. Like, let her spend some time with you, because I was very close with my aunt. So she's the only one who can kind of sort of get me out the house. And she kept asking me, why don't you come spend some time with us, the ladies, because, they older ladies at the library. We have a crochet club. Meanwhile, I had no idea how to crochet. And I'm like, why is this lady asking me this? I don't crochet, and I don't want to be there with 70 and 80-year-olds. I don't. But she kept asking me, and I'm like, okay, I'll go. And to be honest, when I first went, it was more like, I love the fact that they were donating to it was like a place, like a tribal place in South Dakota, where they would donate baby blankets and stuff to the hospital, and for those who are living outside on the plantations and stuff, they were donating to them, and they did it every single year. And I love donating and helping out the cause and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? Let me learn how to make a blanket or something so I could send it to South Dakota. And that's exactly what I did. The thing is, I'm around a bunch of ladies who are older, so it was kind of like, okay, I like making this, but is it my thing? Not really, because I felt like they were making hats and scarves all the time and little blankets for the babies and booties and stuff. And I'm like, it's cute. It's just not my go-to thing. It's not something that I want to do. So I'm like, I'm in the library. Let me look at some stuff from the library. And so I started looking up some books on patterns, and started looking up how to make this and how to make that, how to do this and how to do that. At the time, YouTube was just starting to get on the grind. This was back in like 2011. This was 2011. So YouTube was there, but it was like not like how it is now. And so I would go on YouTube looking at some certain things on how to make this or how to make that. And then I started finding some groups in Facebook that I could go to. I had a computer at home, but I would also use the computer at the library, and I would start joining some Facebook groups. I started realizing that I like to crochet. I started realizing that it was something that relaxed me, and I love to do it. Then I started finding like family friends on Facebook, and I started sharing what I was doing. And one of the family friends is my mentor now, Nettie. She saw me on Facebook, and she saw that I was crocheting, and she was excited because that's something that she do as well. And I was like, yes, I found somebody else who's crocheting on Facebook. So I was very excited about it. And I saw that she had a rivalry, whatever you call it, rivalry. I was looking at her rivalry, and I realized that she had did some really nice blankets, and it was a puppy dog blanket that I saw. And I'm like, this is nice. This is nice. So I was like, let me see if, let me ask her about it. Maybe I can do the same thing. And I started looking more into it. I honestly didn't know the name of it at the time, but I did find like a website. Well, not a website, but it was like Facebook was doing crochet by numbers. At the time it was Todd, somebody named Todd, doing crochet by numbers. So I started looking into crochet by numbers, and then I realized, ooh, he's a little steep, and I'm like a little homeless. I was kind of homeless at the time, so I couldn't afford it. But I just started like venturing out more. So I found this group with this older lady from Canada and this younger lady from Montana, I think it was. And I noticed that they had this Facebook group where they were giving out graphs, and free too. They was giving out free graphs. And they, like, if somebody say I wanted a name, because they were just giving out names. They were not doing anything like what I'm doing now. They wasn't doing none of that. They was just giving out names. So if you wanted a name Shauna, they would say, you know, with what font, and you could say princess font or something like that, and they would do it, and they would, you know, upload it. And then I'm looking like, ooh, I like, ooh, okay, let me see, you know. And then I saw it was one that was like a baseball. They had like a name with baseball bats in the name, not bats, but baseballs in the name. And I'm like, you could do that, because it's not just a name, it's like a themed name. So I'm like, ooh, Shauna. My wheels started turning. I'm like, I could do this, I could do that. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, I went from making the scarves and, you know, the little things to learn, to started doing like bags and stuff. And my aunt couldn't believe it, because one minute I couldn't hold the damn hook, and then the next minute I'm making pictures and stuff. And she just, it just blew their mind in that library when I came back there with like things that I learned on my own. They were not really like seeking Facebook like I was, and they weren't seeking the computer with YouTube like I was. So they didn't really know that there was so much more out there. So they kept, you know, coming to me like, oh, like, this is nice. Like, how did you learn to do this? And yeah, it was beautiful, because I felt like I could teach them. I felt like I can help them out, even, you know, because they helped me out. But I was able to learn so much from them, but I learned so much from this Facebook group. And at the time, the Facebook group was called Graphghans Are Us, and there were a lot of people doing them. And they just wanted to know, like, who want to learn, and, you know, who wanted to do this. And it was also these ladies out there who was doing it, but for some reason those ladies and the group that I was in didn't really get along. It's always some drama everywhere you go. It's always drama. They didn't really get along. But I don't know if it was because I think the two ladies were charging for theirs, and because they were charging for theirs, and the group I was in was giving it for free, I think it was like mad people would rather, you know, deal with the free than dealing with the two ladies who are charging. So I think that's what that was all about. But nowadays everybody's out for $1. Everybody's out to make money, because I was doing them for free for a long time. I was doing them for free. I was giving away all the grass for free. But it became overwhelming, because nobody didn't care that it was taking a while, because I had a life as well. Nobody didn't care. And then at the time I was going through autoimmune disorder and still going through depression. So yeah, it became so overwhelming. And then I had people stealing graphs and actually selling it on their website. That's another story I'll talk about. But it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. But I noticed that the more and more I kept doing it, the more and more I was excited about it and happy. And it felt like a puzzle to me. It felt like if I keep doing this, I can create way more stuff, and I could do this and I could do that. it became to the point where I'm the type of chick that likes to press the edge, like keep moving and keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So when I realized they only making texts, they only making names, I'm like, I want to learn because they needed help. They needed serious, serious help. So I was like, I want to learn. It was like, yeah, we'll teach you. The older lady said, we'll teach you. I was like, okay. So she gave me the information to get PC Stitch and told me what to do and how to practice and whatever. And so I started doing it. I said, but y'all doing names. Would it be a problem if I do like a character or something? She was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I was like, okay. So my very, 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 very first graph was Tinkerbell. I think I still have it. I hope I still have it. If I have it, I'll show you. My very first graph was Tinkerbell. It was a hot mess, but I was so proud of it because it was mine. It was my very first thing. And it was a hot mess. The more I look at it now, the more I realize why I started practicing way more. Because I think what it is a lot of people think that graphing is just putting it in the computer and let the computer or the software do whatever. No, if you want it to look good and you want to sell it and you want people to be like, oh, I like that. Can I get this? Can I buy that? You want to be able to be different, versatile, be creative, and for it to look good and be clear. You don't want it to look like it's a hot mess. Somebody ran over it with a truck and you're like, what happened? You don't want that at all. No. So I did some more investigation. I investigated more about it, what more I could do with it, how can I make this and how can I make that. And I noticed that the ladies who I was like following, that, I began to think that it wasn't their passion anymore. It was still mine, but it wasn't theirs. So I said, let me do my own group. So I did my own group with the young lady named April. We had our own group, and that group was called Graphghans Unlimited. So Graphghans Unlimited was exactly what it was, Graphghans Unlimited. And we did not sell anything. We just made graphs. We didn't sell it. We just made graphs. So it was like we were like those go-to girls because I, myself, the diva, had to, make it do what it do. And I would create these bomb ass ideas. And then I realized, ooh, Diva, you could do this and change that and make this and make that. And that's when I started improvising, and that's when I started really getting haters because I was improvising by making all types of things. And the things that I was making was stuff that people didn't understand. Like, how did you do that? And just playing around with it. So the more I did that, the more I realized I'm good at this. But I was still depressed. I was still going through my ups and downs, and it was days where like I couldn't graph. So eventually I did need to make money. So, and then like I said, it's overwhelming when people start realizing that you're doing your stuff for free. They take advantage of it. So I had to start charging. When I start charging, it was very overwhelming. April left because it wasn't her passion anymore. It was still mine. So she left, and then I had to do classes on teaching other people how to do it so that I could have help. And this is basically what the ladies did to me because they needed help. So they didn't have classes, but they did like show me. But I had to figure a lot of stuff out on my own. I did. They really didn't tell me anything about unconnected lines and how to make it blurry. They just said, "Oh, try not to have unconnected lines. Try to make it connected." And my mentor said the same thing. She would get patterns and she would have to close them in because of the unconnected lines. But I eventually found ways to change that. I found ways on how to make it work for me. And then I did the classes, and then I had people who decided they was going to help me with the group. And one day I saw that there was a group. Actually, the screenshots, I'm gonna call them that. Screenshots. People start sending you screenshots of stuff, and they be like, "Is this a sister group?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I don't have no sister group." And then I look, and it said Graphghans Unlimited 2. I'm like, "What? Do you know these people?" I have no idea who they are. And so I'm like, "Yo." I didn't even want to message them. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just change my name, change it, because I really cannot believe somebody took my name, Graphghans Unlimited 2. And I thought about it. I'm like, that was freaking clever. Because if you think about it, people are going to think that that's my sister group. Just like the lady came to me, she's thinking that's my sister group. So if you're thinking that's my sister group, then what? You're thinking, oh, I could go here and mix and get some graphs too, because I know this is somebody who I trust. Yeah. And so people started going to them, and I just, ooh, it was peeing me off. But again, I didn't fight it. I just did another group, and that's when I did Graphghans and the Restless. That's the group that I did, that I still have to this day. I was very conscious because of everything that I went through in the past on who I brought in. So I could have had like thousands and thousands and thousands of people right now, because the group has been active since 2014, 2015. So as of right now, I could have had way more people, but I was just so strategic in getting people into our group because of what I went through in the past. Now I'm a little bit more open. It doesn't matter to me because the past is the past, but I went through a lot, but I still had the passion for Graphghans. So it was a period in time where I wasn't doing any graphs. There was a period in time where I wasn't crocheting any graphs. There was a period in time where I just didn't do any of it at all because I was really depressed. I was so depressed that I just didn't want to do anything. So I decided I was really depressed. I really didn't want to do anything. I was just like, this is just a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I just didn't want to be bothered with it. And then the people that was graphing with me, they got tired of me. I'm not even gonna fault them for that. They did. They got tired of me because I was not my best. I really wasn't. I wasn't my best. I wasn't doing what I needed to do, and it was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot on me, and I couldn't understand, like, why am I going through this? Why, it's a lot. It was just so much. So I kind of stepped away from it. But when I decided to come back to it, that's when I realized I freaking miss Graphganning. I miss it. I miss the excitement of how it is when you look at your graph and you're like, wow, I made that. And then to have other people say, "Can I get that? Can I buy that from you?" And then they make it. It's exciting. It's really exciting, and it feels like I actually accomplished something. So it made me want to keep going. So I kept going. And even though I was still going through some type of depression, I still decided it was something that I wanted to do. So yeah, I did venture off into making clothes. I ventured off into making what other stuff that I make, baby items. Like I ventured off into making a lot of other things just to see where my heart was, where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. And then I realized I always went back to Graphghans. And then I also had people say, "You're so good, can you teach me? Can you do this? Can you do that?" And I'm like, you know what? Okay. And then that's when I realized I like this. I really do. I love the fact that people still want to come to me, even though I felt like I I didn't give them my all when I was going through my depression. I didn't do what I was supposed to do when I was going through my depression. There was a lot of people who were asking me to do graphs, and I would leave them hanging because I didn't be able to do it. But one thing I didn't do was take their money, because I didn't want to take it and not be able to accomplish what they wanted. So it was a lot, but I was able to do it. I was able to do it. I was able to come back and come back full force. Making Graphghans is a blessing to me because I can make it for someone for like a keepsake, or I can make it for someone for like an anniversary gift or something like that. Like, it's so many things that you could do with a Graphghan, and it's personalized. People from all over, like I have a celebrity now who I'm doing something for, and I'm like, Lord, she came to me. I didn't go to her. Thank you. Like, thank you. I really appreciate the fact that you're giving me this chance. And I appreciate like all the stuff that I went through being homeless twice, or was it 3 times? I was homeless a lot. My brain couldn't. And this is where we go with mental health, right? Mental health is serious. And I don't think people realize how serious mental health is, because I really, really went through something, but did not realize I was going through it. A lot of people who have mental health issues may not understand what's going on, or realize that you have a mental health issue, and that it's not you, and it's not your fault at all. It's not. Because I really thought, like, what's wrong with me? And then I would get mad at, my family and friends, because they didn't trust me, or they didn't help me. And that's something now that I'm trying to go over with them now, with like with therapy and stuff like that. I'm trying to do whatever I need to do with therapy. It's just so much that we have to go through, and we don't realize, like, depression really is real. Depression is nothing to play with at all. So definitely be very careful. If you feel different, if you feel like something is going on and you don't know what it is, go seek some type of help. Ask somebody, can you talk to them? Because I'm not a suicidal person. I never wanted to kill myself, but some people do. And you don't ever want to get there. Ever want to get there. You don't want it to be something that you could have made a difference. It's too much going on nowadays. Too much. I'm just thankful that I was able to get out of that. And my life is so much better now. My life is so much healthier. And I realized all I needed to do was get rid of toxic people in my life. That's all I needed to do. And I did. And I'm thankful. I'm just so thankful. Yay. I'm just so thankful. Like, my life is so much better. Graphing and crocheting definitely changed my life. I decided to choose Graphghans because no matter what, I just kept going back to it. Graphghans was something different. It wasn't your grandma's, your average, no shade to grandmas who making blankets and booties and stuff, because to be honest, I still make blankets and booties. I gotta make one actually for a baby shower. So no, that's not it. It's just that I'm just so different. Whether I'm in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, I'm pretty sure I'm still going to try to be different. I just like to be a little bit more creative than the average. And that's what I did. I just became a little bit more creative than the average person. And by me taking a picture, an image, and making it into a blanket, it just makes my day. So, and I love like puzzles and stuff like that. So I kind of look at this like a puzzle, like how is it gonna come out? Like I always like say that to myself, like how is this gonna come out? Is it gonna come out like this? Is it gonna come out like that? And I sometimes don't even know. Like this that I'm doing now, I don't know how it's gonna come out, but I kind of got an idea on how I want it to look, how I want it to to not only look, but how I want to surprise the recipient. And I try to look at, will the baby like it? Will the baby, want to keep it when the baby get older? Like, these are the things I think about. Graphghans don't have to be a blanket. It could be whatever you want it to be. And that's how I started making my classes, because some people didn't know how to put it together with like clothes or bags, and I did it with Tunisian crochet too. So Tunisian crochet makes Graphghans look so beautiful. You don't want to graph anything without learning what you're graphing. So I would suggest you crochet Graphghans more, and the more you crochet Graphghans, the more you will probably like it. The more you will probably not only like it, but you will know that when you're graphing, okay, so this is gonna, do this when I graph, and when somebody crochet it, it's gonna do this. Like, you want to be able to know the things that's happening as you're crocheting and as you're graphing. And if you don't know it, then I don't know if you should do it. And if you don't have that eye to look at it and say, this is not gonna look right if I crochet this, you want to be able to have that eye to say, okay, I'm gonna have to change this because I don't think it's gonna look right. You want to be able to be different, because you don't want to do what everybody else is doing. So you want to do something different, and you also want to make it look presentable, because when you are crocheting it, a lot of times it looks like you have your the stitches. It looks like your stitches are out of whack, and you don't want your stitches to be out of whack. And sometimes it has nothing to do with you. It's all about the graph. Okay, so here is my final project. I don't know if I'm going to keep it like that. I don't know. I just got to keep staring at it. But kisses for the Mrs. Jelani. I hope baby Jelani likes it. I hope the recipient likes it. Thank you so much for listening to my story time with the Diva. Again, it's something new that I'm trying to do, and if you like it, gives me a little thumbs up. If you don't, let me know in the comments on what you feel I need to change. Graphghans is my thing. It's something that no matter what, from back in 2011 to now 2022, it gave me a means of having income. It gave me sanity when I was depressed. It just gave me a sense of being wanted. It gave me the title Diva. I was able to come from that situation that I was in, very not just crocheting something simple, but to actually put a photo together and concentrate on what I'm doing. It got me out of so many difficult times, so many difficult things, because just doing that one simple thing didn't do it for me. It was just doing the Graphghans and knowing that I can bring something that we had a thought and bring it to life. If you want to do Graphghans, if you don't know how, I can teach you. If you want to learn more, I can still teach you. And you could be an experienced crocheter with experience, Mrs. and Graphghans, and still learn more from the Diva, because I'm still learning more. So hit me up if you want to do that. My information is in the description below, and you guys have a good day, and I look forward to talking to you again with Storytime with Diva. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye, sunshine.